I'm a pretty limber person naturally, but when it comes to this particular pose, I just start hating. Like, I'll just be straight up honest with you. It's not very yoga of me. I need to work on that. But I do not like frog pose. So this pose is super awesome for you. It opens up your hips. It gets into like your inner thighs. I mean, it's great for you. But here's the thing. We tend to hold a lot of junk in our hips and in our chest. So that's why heart openers can be very challenging for people, and hip openers can be very challenging. And so apparently I've got some stuff I need to deal with because I still hate frog pose even after all these years. So join me today as I walk us through ways that we can practice frog pose at home. This is not for the faint of heart. Like, this is not a super sexy Instagram worthy posture. No, it's not at all. What it is it's great for building the mobility in our hips. So through the Americans today, we're so sedentary, right? We sit in our cars to drive to work. We sit at our desks to work. We sit in front of computers. When we come home, we sit on the couch and we watch TV, right? We're not nearly as active and moving through the full range of motion in our bodies as we were just, say, 50, 100 years ago. So what does that mean? That means we have to really work on maintaining the mobility in our major joints so that we don't have to do things like hip replacement, knee replacements, and all those sorts of things. And so join me as we do my least favorite pose. You'll notice that this frog pose is different than the second series Bakasana in Ashtanga. This pose is found more like in a vinyasa or a yin, those sorts of classes. It's tough. It's tough. Some people, I've heard of lots of people that have done this for like 5 minutes. There's no way I could do that. Maybe one day. This is like goals, right? Hashtag goals. 5 minutes. I would seriously like lose all of my yoga and just like run out of the room. Like, it's pretty good when I get 2 minutes in a frog pose. So start slowly. If you feel a lot, back out. And I'll talk to you about ways that you can back out. What I want to talk to you also are ways that people tend to cheat this pose. So you're going to see me facing the screen, and then you're going to see me with my feet up against this wall as well. So hopefully I can give you a good view of the pose. What you want to think about in frog pose is the 90, 90, 90, 90 degrees. You want 90-degree angles in the foot to the shin, 90-degree angle from the calf to the quad, and then here's the biggest one, 90 degrees from those quads, the hips, to your torso. Most of the time you see people just all but laying out flat on their bellies to get out of this pose. When you cheat yourself of this 90 degrees here in your hips, you're cheating yourself of so many juicy benefits of this pose, okay? But here's the thing, 90 degrees in the hips is intense. It is intense with a capital I-N. I mean, holy mackerel. So make sure, especially if you know you've got super tight hips, that you have a block, sofa pillow, whatever, because we're going to need to lift ourselves up so we're not just collapsing into those hips quite as much. Okay, so join me as we entertain the idea of frog. First thing is, especially if you have a super hard surface, you're going to have some cushion for your knees. So you already know that I have a little bit of an extra mat underneath my yoga mat. I'm going to leave that there. That's because my feet are currently going through some issues. So I'm going to roll my regular practice mat into thirds. So this just provides a little bit of extra cushion for my knees. You can practice this in the center of a room, but let me tell you, it's not nearly as effective because when you go up against the wall, your feet have something to press into to ensure that they are getting the maximum benefit, right? So first thing you do, can you see my feet? My foot is flat pressing up against the wall behind me. So both feet are doing that. I'm going to have to move my yoga mat back just a little bit. My legs are short. Okay, so both of my feet are facing out in the opposite direction, so towards opposite doors, opposite walls, and they're flat. They're flat up against the wall, right? This is intense. So this might be exactly where some people stop. But what we're trying to do, if you notice, I've got 90-degree angles from my foot to my shin right here. Now I've got to work on a 90-degree angle from my calf to my hips. So this means I need to open my legs a little bit more. Ooh, I do not like it. So did you see how this is more than 90 degrees, right? This is a little bit more like 60. 90 degrees is that square, right? That's what we have when we have squares. But you also don't want it to be shorter than 90 degrees. That's the next thing that people do, and that also jips them off of a little bit of hip love. So make sure that the heels are straight back from the knees. And you can look back. You can judge this for yourself. Holy mackerel. So here I am in my prep for frog pose. This might be exactly where you need to stay until you work through some stuff, which is opening up your hips. The next thing you do, most people start out really leaning forward. Push yourself back towards the wall behind you. So you're going to want your hips to be straight back from your knees and your chest to be coming straight out from your hips. And if you can, you lay down. You'll notice that I have a block. Why? Because I can't lay down. This pose is too intense for me. In fact, just having a block, I'm not really loving it. I prefer to have a big, huge bolster, maybe like 2 or 3. But what I've got going on is my torso is coming straight out from the hips, which are at 90-degree angles. My knees have a 90-degree angle, and my ankles have a 90-degree angle. Eventually, one day, I might be all the way flat on the mat. I doubt it. I shouldn't say that. It's practice, right? Not perfect. So one day, perhaps it'll do it. But I got to practice this pose more, and I absolutely abhor this pose, which I probably shouldn't tell you guys, right? But it's so good for you. So the goal, again, is to start small, maybe just 30 seconds. If you can do more. I am not going to do 5 minutes. That would probably end up on one of those funniest videos things, because I would be saying all sorts of not nice yoga words, because I'm already wanting to say not nice yoga words, and I have to demonstrate it from the other angle so you guys can see it. So how on earth do you get out of frog? Move your stuff out of the way, and it's not sexy, it's not pretty. You just kind of fall forward. You push your feet into the walls, and you push your chest into the mat, and you fall forward. You might have to come into a child's pose. You might have to do some wiggles to get yourself to forgive yourself for that. But I have to do this again from the other angle so that you guys can maybe see it. So again, make sure you have a super squishy spot for those knees. You got to love on those knees. I'm going to bring my mat, and I'm going to fold it in half again just because my knees are not loving this hardwood floor. So make sure it's wide enough for your knees, right? Your knees are going to be more than hips width distance. Your feet are going to press flat into the wall. And I'll make sure you guys can see me. Pressing flat into that wall behind you. And now, you see this 90 degrees right here, from my shin to my hips. My feet are at 90-degree angles. Holy moly. I've already done this for a couple of seconds. Not loving it. Now, what you don't want to do is this. You see how my body is forward of my knees? I want my hips to be in line with my knees. That's frog pose. This is not frog pose. This is the frog pose. This is where you're getting into the juicy stuff, right? If you're super hardcore and you're really wanting to get into it, you can press back even more. If you've got a friend, you can have them come and stand in front of your legs. Because I tell you what, if you hang out here in this pose, you're going to slowly just start inching forward. It's only natural because your body hates it. I'm not just speaking for my body. This is an intense pose, but it's also really, really, really good for you. So if you notice, I don't have my block here, so I'm having to hang out here on my shoulders. My elbows, rather. One day, perhaps, I'll be able to lay down flat on the mat. I am not there. Not there at all. What you don't also want to do is collapse in the low back. You see how this would just be all dumping in my low back. So I've got my belly engaged, and I'm almost like pressing the low back into the ceiling. And so for me, since I have such a pronounced low back curve, it almost looks like I'm doing a little bit of cat back. It's getting better, believe it or not. It used to be worse, but that's the engagement that I have to have for my abs to keep my back somewhat straight. Whew, all right, let's come out of here. Again, not a super sexy pose, and it's not a super great way to get out of it, but it works. It's effective. It gets you out of that pose. So fair word of warning, if you do this posture, it can bring up some emotions. So I've done this in a power class, at the end of a power class when you're really hot and sweaty. And I had some people that like were angry. I have to say that I get angry in this pose, and that's because we hold so much emotions. We hold so much crap in our hips. And so practicing the pose will help to open it up. It might bring some stuff up. Be okay with it. Acknowledge it. You know, like when you're on your mat meditating and the thoughts come in, you let them float by like clouds. Be okay with whatever emotion that comes up and just breathe through it. Thank you so much for joining me today as I talked about one of my least favorite poses, frog pose. I hope you had fun, maybe learned something new. And most importantly, I hope that you feel a little bit more openness in the hips today as a result of our little practice. If you ever have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate. Drop me a note below. I will respond and try to get to you as quick as possible.